Merida shouted, her face desperate but determined. "I'm not going to survive this wound, but I can do this. You stay here. You stay safe." I leaned over her, hugging her as tight as I dared without hurting her too much. Eric, no 7, had stabbed her in the spine. That she was even managing to walk with the injury was a miracle. I needed to try and keep her safe till we could get her to a doctor. With the attack going on, I didn't know how long that would be. For the briefest of moments, I thought she was going to let go of her stubborn pride when she hugged me back and held on to me. But she let out a grunt full of pain and shoved me away. I stumbled back a few steps and looked at her, sitting in the pilot's chair of the alien craft. The seat was already soaked with her blood. She was smiling at me through an unimaginable amount of pain, putting on a brave face. "Go. I've got this," she reassured me, her voice laced with ache and hurt. My lips pinched together as I tried not to cry seeing her in such a state. She was determined to do what she needed to do, and there was no talking her out of it. She gave a hesitant nod and told her I loved her. There was a pause between my words and her nod of acknowledgement. Had she even heard me, or was she just trying to make me feel better? I wanted to stay, to keep her safe, but I knew deep down that I was wasting her time by trying to fight the issue. I stepped out of the craft, and the hatch closed behind me. Moments later, it sped off up into the sky. "What happened?" Mayroon asked from behind me. "Where's she going?" "You let her leave like that?" I turned and looked up at the massive deathclaw, my eyes overflowing with tears, shouting at him in my frustration. "Could you have stopped her?" Mayroon had trouble with facial expressions, but his body language told me he was just as upset and frustrated with the situation as I was. His breath was coming in heavy with anxiousness as he tried to process not being able to help Merida. "What can we do to support her from here?" "We fight," I replied as I wiped my tears away and drawing the Magnum Nomicon from its holster. "We hold out until she gets back, and we have a bunch of doctors here ready to take care of her." "She will come back to a pile of enemy corpses," Mayroon roared. He turned and sprinted off, moving to all fours. I watched as one of the alien crafts strafed low to avoid artillery fire. It came too close to the city's walls, allowing Mayroon to leap from the top of the wall and land on top of it. Mayroon's armored claws tore into the metal of the craft and peeled it away like craft paper. He plucked the Zetons from the ship and flung them out into the desert landscape. As the craft lost control, Mayroon leapt from it, landing back onto the top of the city's walls. He activated the portable plasma cannons on his armor and fired them at another alien craft. I ran to the wall and dashed up the scaffolding to join the fight. One of the Zetans had somehow survived being tossed out of its craft. No one else seemed to have noticed. Just as it was recovering from the stupor of Mayroon's attack, I shot it in the chest. The Magnum Nomicon's powers went into effect, killing the Zetan and transforming it into an undead under my control. I commanded it to fire at the other Zetan ships. Its weapon was stronger than most of ours, and it scorched the sides of ships it fired at. As another ship crashed, I commanded the Zetan to bring any survivors close. If they followed my Zetan, I could steadily build a small army of them. Serena's voice echoed across the city's loudspeakers, issuing commands, organizing the different militant factions, and coordinating their movements. The children of Adam were stuck groundside, but radiant rifles were still able to affect the electrical systems of the alien ships. The sky shimmered with blue, greens, and red weapon fire. Cracks, snaps, barks, and reverberations of every sort of weapon littered the air. Organized chaos ruled the field for a few minutes until the day time light up with a flash so bright that for a moment I could have sworn it had been night moments before. All eyes turned to the sky and my eyes widened as the horror of the reality set in. There, hovering in the air so high it couldn't have actually been in the atmosphere, was a ball of radiant fire. Dozens of others pinpricked the sky. Merida had been up there. Had been. As powerful and capable as she was, even she couldn't have survived that. Even as I fell to my knees and screamed her name, heartache and terror tearing through me like a ravenous beast, I knew she had to have been the cause of the explosion. She had gone up there knowing she wouldn't survive the wound. And since she couldn't quite reach the energy signatures from the planet's surface, yet in order to disrupt them, she had taken the ship to the source. She had sacrificed herself to save the planet from the Zetans. Whichever crafts were left on the planet were all that was left of their fleet. The ache in my soul was like a fist gripping my heart. I had known her for 3 lifetimes now, and while I had known she would do anything for her friends, it hurt to realize that anything included giving her life for ours. I didn't want to believe it. Didn't want to believe she considered my life worth giving up her own. The battle ended abruptly. The remaining Zetan crafts flew away several moments after the explosion. They had realized what had happened and needed to regroup. The fallout of Merida's sacrifice stretched over years. The initial response was a memorial which was broadcast to every town and city in the wasteland we had brought into the Legion. The loss of Merida hit the country hard. While she hadn't been able to meet and speak with every citizen, her weekly broadcasts, where she shared progress reports, read letters, and offered comfort and reassurance to everyone, had brought a sense of unity to the country. She was people's beacon of hope, a kind face with a fierce determination to retake the world so they could live safe, happy lives. Statues were erected all over, and Merida became the most common name for baby girls for decades to come. The fate of the Legion was up in the air for a few days. The NCR had only just joined after all, and their loyalty hadn't had time to solidify like the other factions had. Splinter groups of the NCR attempted to break away from the new alliance, which started a small civil war among their members. But with the numerical and technological advantage that the Legion had, these minor rebellions were put down quickly. Pockets of resistance, small towns or provinces mostly, attempted to break away from the Legion as well. These we mostly handled peacefully, cutting off the power, halting supply shipments, and stopping all transitions to them was enough to bring the majority back into the fold in short order. One that hadn't happened was the fracturing of the major factions within the Legion. Merida, ever the student of history, understood what normally happened when the leader of such an organization died. She had worked tirelessly to integrate the different factions into each other, making them dependent on one another. She also ensured that each was vital for the constant various work that was needed to ensure the country ran smoothly, that taking even one element away meant things could quickly crumble. It also helped that she ingrained a sense of national pride into everyone. The rebuilding of a country, watching it claw its way from the wastes of nuclear war, was inspiring. Being part of the work was invigorating and rewarding. So, when Merida's death was announced and alerts went out to look out for Zetan crafts and Zetans that may be hiding out somewhere, the country unified. The national pride burned like the sun. Say what you will about her methods, but Merida understood how to inspire loyalty. Contingencies had long been set in place to determine who would guide the country should anything happen to anyone in the higher leadership positions. With Merida's passing, I was placed in charge of the Legion, tasked with keeping up morale, coordinating the remaining reclamation efforts, and finished the work she had started. Luckily, she had left behind detailed instructions, letters, and recordings to help me through the general process. Unfortunately, she couldn't help me make the hard decisions about resource allocation or the implementation of laws. While Triana and I had helped lead the elves back in Thedas, general councils were used for matters like that. The pressure was more than I could handle, and I admit that I leaned on Serena, Mayroon, and others more than I should have. As the years went on, I had to wonder how she did it. How did she make decisions with such confidence? She was an empress for hundreds of years, enacted policies which would send people to their deaths, upended the traditional systems of her people, and was willing to make hard choices definitively. Did she never feel the burden of all of that? If she did, she had always hid it well. Even among the leadership, she never let her frustration show. While Triana and I had helped lead the elves back in Thedas, general councils were used for matters like that. The pressure was more than I could handle, and I admit that I leaned on Serena, Mayroon, and others more than I should have. As the years went on, I had to wonder how she did it. How did she make decisions with such confidence? She was an empress for hundreds of years, enacted policies which would send people to their deaths, upended the traditional systems of her people, and was willing to make hard choices definitively. Did she never feel the burden of all of that? If she did, she had always hid it well. Even among the leadership, she never let her frustration show. A few years after the reclamation of the original United States was finished, Mayroon requested that the death clause be given the same rights and privileges as humans and ghouls. By now, their species were all just as intelligent as the average human. This caused some debate, as it had thus far been unprecedented that non-humans be given any real consideration under the law. As far as most were concerned, the death clause were one giant pack kept in line by Mayroon. The truth, however, was that their species had undergone unbelievable change since Mayroon had started working with them after they were dosed with FEV. They were just as intelligent and sentient as we were. I didn't have it in me to deny the death clause their rights to equal treatment. While the thought of them being treated equally under the law in theory might have been something to debate among the population, in practice, it had been like that for a few years. Merida hadn't lived to see the death clause come into their own, but I'm sure she would have been proud of the leader Mayroon had become. Mayroon died at the age of 48. He was ancient for a death claw, and Serena and I were with him when he passed. His last thoughts were of Merida, and hoping to see her again if he were lucky enough to reincarnate the way we did. 2 years after the death clause had their rights officially enshrined into law, Serena married. She continued to lead the military wing of the Legion for 15 years after Merida's death. In that time, she had 3 children, each of whom grew to join the Angeli Steel. Her eldest, Martin, earned the rank of High Commander at the age of 32. Her daughter Mary died in one of the battles near the Panama Canal. She had 6 grandchildren, and died at the age of 87. She could have lived much longer, but refused the life-extended prosthetics and bodies offered to her by Ala Miraculorum. I married my husband Derek only a year after Serena got married. Together, we had 7 kids. Only 2 joined the Church of Adam as active members. Most of my children went on to serve in different ways. 1 in the Ala Miraculorum, 2 in the Angeli de Steel, and the others served as either doctors or law enforcement. Unlike Serena, I gladly accepted the prosthetic bodies from the Ala Miraculorum once mine started hurting more often than not. I served as Caesar until we had united the entire North American continent. Once things had been settled and the nation was solidified, I opened up elections with the caveat that the Legion's leader had to have served in the church or the Angeli de Steel for at least 10 years, with the belief that anyone who felt they could leave would have had to have proven that they could first serve. Merida's dream for a united nation rising from the ashes of the former United States had come true. She hadn't lived to see it, but something told me she knew. And if I got the chance to see her again, I would tell her everything. It would be a wonderful tale to tell.